You're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
Point Watson gets it. He toe drag, shoots, scores! Oh, unbelievable! Right at point, wins the game in overtime. An incredible move.
4 seconds left. In front, heavy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the first Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup.
Welcome into RBLR Lightning here on RBLR Sports. My name is Eureka, and driving the Zamboni with me tonight is Chris. What's up, man?
Oh, man, everything's good, man. We had some wet and soggy weather here the past 2 days. Enjoyed the day off today. And you know what? I feel kind of bad because I never ask how you're doing. So you know what? I'm going to ask, how are you doing, Eureka?
You know, I'm always good, man. I'm always living the dream. That's my my statement. But yeah, the baby's good. Mama's good. The hockey was great this week. So it's been a good week. So
it has.
I guess the first thing we'll start is with headlines. The one thing that we've all kind of been pins and needles is learning about Steven Stamkos, and so we did get a little bit of clarity in terms of injury time. You know, the Lightning have placed Steven Stamkos on the LTIR list. He hasn't played since April 8th. But they're able to put him on that list retroactively, so he should be out for about 10 games and could return as soon as May 5th. Little Cinco de Mayo return for Stammer, but that means he'll only be in the lineup for the last few games of the regular season, so he gets a little bit more time to get the rust off before Kucherov. So I guess my first question to you, Chris, is what have we learned about this injury itself, and what does this mean for his season?
Well, I know they said it's not related to last year, so I guess it's not that core injury that I thought maybe he did re-injure, because it was a no-contact injury, and just skating down the boards the way he was, and him kind of hunching over, and that pain you could see on his face. I kind of thought that he re-injured the core injury from last year, but they clarified that it wasn't a re-injury, so it's definitely a new injury, which sucks again for Stamkos, because it seems like he just can't catch a break as far as some of his injuries have been, no contact, just skating and, twisting his body the wrong way. And unfortunately for him, he's so injury prone that it just seems to, no matter what he does, he can't catch a break at this point. And, he's our captain and our leader, so it's definitely a huge loss missing him, and Cooch being out too. So now we're missing, two of our best players. Obviously, it's going to make a pretty big impact on the team, going down the stretch. But like you said, I know they said 7 to 10 days, I think, before he even gets back to skating. So I'm not sure how cautious they're going to be, especially like you said, if they come back towards the end of the season. It's like, well, do we want him to get in there, or do we want to save him for the playoffs? It might depend on where we're at in the standings. Obviously, like you said, you don't want rust going into the playoffs, so you'd expect him to want to come back a little bit before the playoffs start, so he can kind of get, you don't want to be in rusty going into the playoffs. So I think you could see him come back possibly. I wouldn't be upset if they held him out, as long as we're going to make the playoffs regardless. But if it does come down to us for fighting for that one seed, and he's able to go, I think we'll see him come back.
Yeah, I mean, and you're talking about a guy who's able to just get on the ice for one shift and score a goal. So I don't know how much rust he might have. But
right.
Well, shifting to another headline news, Alex Barboulay, man, recording his first point in the National Hockey League. That's pretty good, for the young gun.
Yeah, man, he's Cooper shows a lot of trust in him, especially putting him on that first power play line. I mean, he's just now called up this year. He's only played in a couple of games, and putting him on that first power play line, that's a lot of trust from Cooper for him. So I mean, we've seen him with some really great plays. He had a pretty sloppy turnover last night that unfortunately led to a goal, but other than that, he's played pretty well. It's going to be tough decisions once Stammer and Kucherov come back, because somebody's got to go down, and the way Colton's been playing, and ABB, obviously, he's played pretty well too. So it's going to be tough for that decision for Cooper to make, to see who has to be sent down. But, I'm happy for him. Like I said, our pipeline's been pretty good, so it's just another good call-up, and they all seem to be working out pretty well.
Yeah, and I don't think it's too much of a demotion if you get scratched off the playoff roster in a round. I mean, with your this deep of a team, that I know everyone's playing hard. They want to be on the ice, but you kind of have an embarrassment of riches so far. And it's been good that we've been able to have players like this that have kind of stepped up as we've lost. Ruda, Kucherov, Stammer, things like that throughout the season. So. Shifting from a guy scoring his first point in the NHL to a man who crossed the 300-point milestone, and that is Braden Point. No pun intended. Braden Point, 135 goals, 165 assists. He becomes the 11th Bolt all-time to reach that mark and becomes the third fastest Lightning member to hit that, only behind Stammer, who did it in 302 games, and Kucherov in 337. So Braden Point, it's kind of crazy to think that he's already been in the league for 4 or 5 seasons, because he's still to me, he just seems like he's got the whole world ahead of him.
He does. He's still young. He's only 25 years old. I mean, we've seen the skill set he's had since he's been brought up and played on the team. I mean, you look at his career, 340 games played, 135 goals, 165 assists, 300 points already. So that's a huge accomplishment for a younger guy that's only 25. And I know last night they were comparing him and Sebastian Aho, who was a really high pick for Carolina, and their stats are pretty much the same. And even Pointer's got Aho beat in the speed category. So I mean, and Sebastian Aho was a really high pick for Carolina. He's one of the top players in the league. So that says a lot for Point, who's was he a third round pick. So I mean, the Lightning just continue to draft well and develop players really well, and they seem to call up the guys at the right time. I feel like I'm never really nervous when we call somebody up, because I have so much trust in our system that when someone comes up, you're like, all right, is he going to be the next Kucherov? Is he going to be the next guys like Point now? So it's great for him, and I'm happy for him, and I think we're going to see some really, really good things from him from now on.
Yeah, for Point not being, in the NHL draft, it's similar to the Major League Baseball draft, where a lot of these guys, you definitely don't see them in the league until years down the road. And for him, I think he's the 4th or 5th out of his draft class to get to 300 points. And for him not to be a first-round pick and to play the games and get the points, it's definitely a testament to the development that the Lightning have been able to continue to do. So
absolutely.
Another homegrown product is Tyler Johnson, and unfortunately, the big news with TJ is Cooper had to come in and make a decision to take him off the power play unit, and considering the injuries of the top 2 scorers on this team that were on that power play unit. And now you have a guy, TJ, who I know we were all rooting for him to have a kind of a comeback season, but he's unfortunately been the kind of a cloudy storm cloud in the corner there. Chris, do you agree with Cooper's decision here to take him off the power play?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the right move right now, especially coming down the stretch where all the points are going to be huge right now. We're trying to fight for that number 1 spot, and we got Carolina and Florida battling us. So I think whatever moves need to be made, we need to do it, and I trust Cooper with the calls he makes. So Johnson's just, he's only got 7 goals in the season, 12 assists. He did have a really good assist last night. Great pass to Killorn, set up the breakaway. But other than that, yeah, I mean, he's just, I don't know if he's just he's mental, or if he just can't figure out, he's just kind of the bad puck luck, and he's had some decent chances this year and just missed the net or hit the post. I think he's still a talented player. I mean, he's only 30 years old, so he's getting up there a little bit, but he had a couple really good seasons with us, especially when he was on the triplets line with Palat and Kucherov a couple years ago, and ever since then he's kind of been on the downward slope, kind of up and down, hit or miss here and there. So I support Cooper. I think he always usually makes the right calls, right decisions. At this point, yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt to mix up the lines, and like I said, he's obviously got a lot of trust in ABB, for getting on that first power play line now. So I know I read that Cooper and Johnson did have a talk, and Cooper said he still trusts Johnson. He still has a lot of faith in him. He thinks he's going to break out of it here and there. So mixing things up, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not like it's a shot in the face of Johnson. I'm sure he understands. Johnson wants to win too. So I think the team's just going to do what needs to be done at the moment to continue to win and get the points we need right now.
Yeah, if TJ can solidify as a good role player, every little bit is what the Bolts will need in a repeat bid. So.
Right.
Now, the last little newsworthy note doesn't have anything to do with the Lightning, but it does have to do with something that probably I don't think a lot of people would have ever expected, and that is that Gordie Howe's career regular season game record has been broken by Patrick Marlowe. He has been around since 1997. He's played for the Sharks, the Leafs, the Penguins, and he's back now in his third stint with the Sharks. On Monday, he played against Vegas, and he racked up his 1,768th game of his career, passing the Hall of Famer and legendary Gordie Howe. So I mean, it's crazy. This is one of those things. It's like kind of like the Cal Ripken Iron Man streak that it's one of these unattainable. Like, how do you play almost 1,800 games in the NHL?
It's crazy. Marlowe's been around a while. He's got 566 career goals, 630 assists. 1,196 points. So I mean, He's one of those guys that just was always on the ice, always playing hard, kind of like Joe Thornton. Joe Thornton's up there in age too. It just seems like they're always around signing, 1-year deals and playing on these teams. And just, hockey players seem to play a lot longer than, most sports. He's 41 years old. That's getting up there is to be out there in a physical sport, So I'm happy for Marlowe. I didn't follow a lot of his games, but obviously I've seen a couple of his highlights over the years, and I know he's a good guy outside of the league too. So that's a really cool thing to at least be around for and to see, and that's a big accomplishment. So I'm happy for him.
Now I have a question though, going all the way back, Chris. Okay. Do you know who was on the cover of NHL 98, which came out in 1997 for the PlayStation? Do you know? Who was on the cover of NHL 98?
Not a clue, but if I had to guess, is it Patrick Marlowe?
It is not Patrick Marlowe. As touted of a rookie as he was, it was the great Peter Forsberg of the Colorado Avalanche. So
he's a great player too.
He's pretty good. He did all right. He's got a couple rings,
just a little bit. Yeah. I know you're a Denver guy, so
I love they're my childhood team. I gotta rep them, as much as I can. But now
that's a good stat, man. That threw me off,
Yeah, I'm trying. That's what I'm here to do, man. I'm here to shift things on you now. As we take a look around the division, I kind of wanted to go team by team. Well, we start with Carolina at the top of the division, 63 points. They are tied with Florida with 63 points, but they are ahead. Now I know we're right now in a battle with Carolina tonight, and there was a game we'll get into in a couple minutes here. But overall, how do you think Carolina is setting up for this last couple weeks?
We got to win tonight for sure, man. This is our last game against Carolina this season, so back to back. McElhinney's going to be in net, so he's going to need all the help and defense he can get the way he's been playing this season. So I think tonight is, like I said last week, I didn't say must win, but I think tonight's one of those must win games, especially with only 11 games left after tonight, I think. So every point's going to count. We only played Carolina once. We still got a couple more games with the Panthers. So I think you're going to really see a fight for these top three spots. And, that if we get that 2 seed, man, it looks like we're going to be playing. We could end up against Florida, or we could end up against the Hurricanes. It's going to be, and that's going to be a tough series with either team. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this pans out. And I think it's really going to come down to that last week.
Now, I said tied. Now, second in that division are the Florida Panthers. They continue this run where we thought they'd be good, but we didn't think they'd be ahead of us this late in the season. And, of course, us sitting right behind them, only 2 points behind both of those teams. It's crazy to think. Or 1 point, 62 points. So the 1 point separates first from third. It's a bunch of tiebreakers. So I see exactly what you mean about Carolina. But about the Panthers, is there anything of note that you've seen in the last week from the Panthers?
They're just a really good, young, talented team, man. They got a good head coach. I know he preaches defense a lot, so I think it was their time, man. They're only going to be on the bottom for so long, especially with the division realignment. I think they were able to not necessarily pick on teams, but obviously the Red Wings and the Blue Jackets, they're kind of on that. They're rebuilding / the Blue Jackets dumped most of their guys in trade. So kind of picking on those bottom teams. Blue Jackets have lost 6 straight, Red Wings 2 straight. So I think it's these 3 teams we're the most talented in the division. We got the most talented players, better coaching. So I think just this division realignment helped a lot for Florida to kind of be able to get some confidence, and I think they've adjusted really well to this new scheduling, and I think they seem to be a pretty tough team to beat as far as in series. So if we have to match up with Florida come playoff time, it's going to be you're going to see some intense playoff hockey for sure if that's the case.
Yeah, and Tampa, we have just gone through kind of the gambit in the last 4 games against all of those playoff teams. Nashville is in 4th with 51 points. They're still kind of a way behind the pack here, but the Nashville Predators got the better of McElhinney and the Bolts in a 7-2 loss. That was the first game I guess we'll go over as we look past the games that happened last week. So tell me, is the sky falling after a 7-2 loss?
No, it's not falling, but it definitely wasn't good. That's probably one of our worst defeats I've seen in a long time. 7 goals that's unheard of, especially for the Lightning to give up that many goals in a game. So I think it was definitely disappointing. McElhinney just hasn't really panned out as well. I was kind of hoping that eventually, all right, he's going to have a good game. And it just hasn't seemed to happen yet. That was a tough game to watch, honestly. 2 goals in that game. We didn't play well. We got outplayed. Got a goal from Gordon Point, and that was it. And then obviously the 7 goals Nashville scored. And then after that, we got a win against Florida in overtime, which was a huge win, man. That was a big win to bounce back from that 7-2 loss. Like I said, all these matchups with Florida and Carolina are going to be huge, so I'll take the 2 points when we can get it. Hedman had a huge goal in overtime in that game. That was, really good shot by him, great leadership by him to step up and get that goal. And then we had the Panthers after that again, which we lost 5-3. We didn't look that good. Panthers played really strong that game. Lots of turnovers, lots of very sloppy play. We had some good chances, a little bad puck luck in that game. Unfortunately, it goes that way sometimes. So we got a goal from, let's see who scored that game. We have Point had a goal. Chernak actually got on the scoreboard for once. So that's something good, and Joseph's still playing good on that 4th line. So, and then last night's game was last night's game felt like a playoff game 7, for the division. That was a really fun game to watch last night. Really, really fun, intense hockey. Killorn. Man, shout out to Alex Killorn, man. Killer came to play last night. Killer showed out last night, man. That huge hit he had last night, that was you could see after he got that hit, he was, he hit him, then he got in a fight, was brawling, started raising his hands in the air, trying to pump up the crowd, pump up the team, and that led to going into overtime and getting that game winner from Gord. So it's been a bumpy road, back and forth here and there, but we're still hanging around. Like I said, we don't need to fire Cooper and abandon the team. So we're going to lose. People just have to realize we're going to lose a couple games here and there. We're not going to win every game the rest of the season. We're missing our 2 best guys. So you're going to see a lot more Bassey and Ned. I'm sure McElhinney's going to get, the back-to-backs. But I think overall, we're still playing good hockey. Last night was probably the best game we've played almost all year, in my opinion, from start to finish. I think overall they looked, physically well. They looked offensively. They looked really well. The defense was really good. Savard really came to play last night. He had a couple really, really good shots that were deflected in front of the net. So I think overall, once he's settling in now, he's going to help that defense out. And I think the lines are going to start to gel here and there with Stamkos being out and Cooch being out. So it's going to be tough, but I think it's going to come down to this, definitely the last week of the season, I think.
Yeah, Killorn getting the Gordie Howe. Speaking of Gordie Howe, the Gordie Howe hat trick, right? The goal, the assist, and a fight.
He did. I meant to say that. Yeah,
got the goal, the assist, and the fight.
He was pumped last night.
And you got to think too. At that moment, it's a tie. It's a tie game with 2 or 3 minutes left in the third period, and Killorn not just fights the guy. I mean, he obliterates him in mid ice.
It was a blur.
Oh my God! Yeah, get the license plate of that truck that just hit you, man. It was
clean hit too. Let me clarify that it's a clean hit. Some people were saying it was clean hit.
Yeah, well, that's just, it's one of those things, man. You catch a guy, and then you got 3 or 4 kind of separate fights that start up, and it just kind of energized these Bolts, because they're the Carolina's at the top of the division, and the Bolts are not just sitting down and taking it lightly, especially with only a point separating these teams. But I guess the next question I'll ask is, if we take a look at the Nashville game being a downer, but 2 really strong overtime wins, and then a loss to Florida. So kind of up, kind of down. Who do you have as your 3 stars of the week?
Man, number 1, after last night, I was Killorn, man. After last night, the way he played last night alone, he had a goal, I think, back against Nashville too, so he's had 2 goals, and then he obviously had that Gordie Howe hat trick. He really energized the team last night. He looked really, really well last night. That was probably the best Alex Killorn I've seen, man, honestly. He was pumped all game, so just my first star's got to go to him. I got to give my second one to Gord. He's played really well the past just 2-3 weeks at least. I think he's been on my my stars for a couple weeks, so he's played really well hockey. He creates those turnovers. He gets in front of the net, man. The rebound goal last night in overtime, he fights, man. He's a little guy, but he's not scared. So number 2's got to go to him, and then I'm gonna give number 3 to Hedman for that game winner against Florida in overtime. I think that was a big win. I think we needed that one. Hedman stepped up in that, and I know a lot of people have been talking bad about Hedman in the past couple games because he did have some sloppy play, but people got to realize Hedman doesn't really take a shift off. He's playing a lot of hockey. I think he's feeling it a little bit. He's gonna be tired here and there, and I think he did have some plays where he was just kind of lazy on the ice, but to say Hedman's not a good player is just absurd. So I'm gonna give my 3rd star to Hedman for sure.
Awesome, man. Now, as we look at kind of now we shift towards the next coming up week, this future week here. I'm trying to look at the last all the games that Vasilevsky hasn't been in net, and to be honest, it's not a good picture. In fact, the Bolts haven't won a game without Vasilevsky in net since March 21st. So it's been over a month, and you've had 2 different goaltenders that have been in net, and unfortunately, it's been the higher losses, the 7-2 loss and a 5-3 loss. These ones where unless the Bolts were firing on all cylinders and scoring 8 goals, they were not going to even sniff the chance. So I know I bring this up a couple times throughout the year, but now you've got actual losses that have racked up because we haven't had good secondary goaltending. So are we just still waiting for McElhinney to figure it out, or are they going to go with Gibson in the future? Is someone else coming up from Syracuse? What do we have on the table?
I think they're just going to ride McElhinney because, like I said, they know playoff time. Bassey's going to get every start, and I think we're just going to ride him out and hope that. I think the addition of Savard's going to help a lot once, now he's getting kind of used to the system, kind of used to playing. He's going to get those block shots to at least take some of the pressure off McElhinney. But like I said, it's not all on him. The defense has to play better all around when he's in net. There's a lot of odd man rushes for when he's in net, a lot of turnovers, a lot of 2-on-1s, 3-on-1s that are going to lead to scoring chances no matter who's in net. We see Vasi make some crazy saves here and there, but Vasi's Vasi, so when you got a backup coming in, he's not going to be as good. So you can't allow that many chances a game and not expect to give up goals. And a lot of people want to put the blame on McElhinney because he's the one in net, which he should be making some saves. I agree. There are some weak ones that he's let in, but the defense has got to play better all around in front of him. You got to clear the puck out, control the puck, got to stop the turnovers. Like I said, we were 29th in the league in penalties taken, so you got to get out of the penalty box. You can't keep giving up power plays or you're going to give up goals no matter who's in net. So I don't want to blame it all on him, but he does have to play better. But at the same time, I think the defense also has to play better in front of him too.
Yeah. On that note, so the addition of Savard, what have you seen so far through the few games he's been here?
Oh, I think his first game was a little not sloppy, but kind of just getting the motions. But his last two have been. I think he's played really well already. Defense, he's had a couple good poke checks in there to stop a couple breakaways and a couple good. He had, like I said, he had a couple good shots last night where he was just firing away for about the. I think his line was in the forecheck for about a minute, and he probably had 3 or 4 shots from the blue line. So I think he's kind of settling in now. I think he's figuring out his role because we like to use our defensemen, to push up on the boards and sometimes even get behind the goalie and be more of an offensive defenseman. So I think he's just got to get used to that a little bit and feel free to take more shots. I don't think he took a lot of shots when he was on Columbus, but I think Cooper, the way he works in our system, I think he's going to get Savard to take some more shots and get those deflections in front of the net. But I think good things from him here on out for sure.
Well, as we look towards these games against Carolina tonight and Columbus as maybe a better opportunity to get some more points in the column here, what do you see as they're sitting on this road trip or a home stand? Actually,
Yeah.
It's the longest stretch of the season of them playing at home. They've kind of split the decisions so far last week with 2 wins and 1 loss, but. It's not getting any easier tonight against Carolina, and maybe the Blue Jackets are going to be some home cooking. But what are your thoughts on the upcoming games this next week?
I think, like I said, I think tonight, as we record here on Tuesday, I think tonight is a must-win for sure, especially because after this we have the Blue Jackets twice at home, which we should win. The Blue Jackets pretty much dumped their team come trade deadline, like I talked about. They've lost 6 straight. They're in dead last now. They're even below the Red Wings, so I think if you win tonight, or we need to win tonight in front of McElhinney, going to those next 2 games against Columbus, it's got to be 2 wins. It's got to be, we should be getting 6 points here and boost us up in the standings a little bit because we can't, right now you can't lose to a team like Columbus. I can understand losing to Florida or Carolina here and there because they're good teams. They're talented, so we're not always going to win these games. People have to understand is Florida and Carolina are good, so we're playing them over and over and over. It's not like we're getting a break, so don't be mad if we lose to Florida or Carolina. It's going to happen. They're good teams. But if we lose to a team like the Blue Jackets, who pretty much dumped their squad and they're sitting at the bottom of the standings, these are games that I think are must wins. I think these 6 points are huge going down the stretch to the final 11 games. So I'm really hoping for the best. Like I said, we got to get through tonight first, and then we just can't overlook Columbus in the next 2.
All right. Well, I will say the last thing here before we wrap up here. To all of our listeners, we thank you for your time, and if there's one thing you can do for us, then that's follow us at RBLR Sports on all forms of social media. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or even our YouTube channel, there's a little subscribe button, and it only takes a second for you, but it means a lot for us. So if you could just hit that subscribe button, and if you're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, we are at RBLR Sports, and like I said, every little bit helps us out. But Chris, man, any final thoughts before we head out of here, buddy?
I just want everyone to relax and calm down. We're gonna lose some games. We're missing we're missing our 2 best guys. I think we've become so spoiled with winning here and there and not losing games. We're having the best record in hockey. None of that matters, man. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is getting into the playoffs and starting a brand new season come playoff time, because no one's going to care about that 7-3 loss, 7-2 loss against Nashville if we're hoisting the Stanley Cup, So we're going to be fine. We're going to get Stamkos and Cooch back, God forbid, but they should be back. Just settle in. Like I said, it's going to be a bumpy ride, but we're going to be fine. We're going to make a deep run in the playoffs. We have the same talented team we had last year, so enjoy the hockey, man. This is going to be some good hockey the past couple weeks. So sit down, grab a beer, relax, and enjoy the games.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the playoffs, if they haven't already started, they are right around the corner here in the regular season.
Absolutely, it is. It's intense.
Well, all I can say is thank you, Chris. Thank you to our listeners. We will talk to you next week, and above all, go Bolts.
Go Bolts.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.